All right, Greg and Troop, it's all yours.
Mark, thank you very much. Good morning, friends. My name is Mike Wolf. If you did not get to meet me at last month's service board meeting, I am the program manager with Comtech slash Illyrium. And I'll explain that a little bit more to you, but I will be your program manager from now throughout the duration of our contract and services with you. So I'm going to be assisting our team in getting you ready for your pre-migration onto the Comtech Illyrium Next Gen 911 and ESInet services. And then we'll be your point of contact along with our NOC and some other specific team members after you join our network. With me this morning, also presenting, is Mark Greenthaner. He's the manager of our deployment and implementation. And I'll be turning it over to him here in just a few minutes to talk with you about some more in-depth parts of this program and the project that we have coming up. So we're going to give a high-level presentation this morning. We promised that we would not bore you with a slideshow, but we do have some slides that we want to go through just for some key talking points, and then really open it up to you all to ask questions that you may have for us today. As Mark shared, he is recording this, so any of your other folks on staff or other PSAPs that was unable to join today, this will be available to them to review. So with our presentation this morning, I just want to note out that we are going to be sharing some information, obviously specific to this program. So we ask that this presentation be shared just with those folks who are pertinent to the project. And if you have any questions about that or want to share that out to anyone else, then you can certainly reach out to us. Our agenda this morning, we're basically just going to go over again high-level overview of what is NG911, what is the ESInet, what are we offering to you all, and what you can expect as we start this project roadmap together, leading to your implementation and going live with us. We added in here just some key contacts. These are the leaders of your project that we're going to be working with going forward. So you can feel free to reach out to any of us at any time. Mr. Greg Lathrop is the director of our programs. He is on the call here with us for a little bit this morning. As I mentioned, Mark Greenthaner is the manager of implementation and support, and I will be your program manager. So some of you that attended National NENA got to see a different name, a different logo that we were proudly announcing and displaying. And I just wanted to touch a little bit on that. As you've heard the name Comtech, starting out in the beginning of this process. And we are going to be transitioning that name over the next few months here to Illyrium. And really all that means is that if you are aware, we called ourselves Comtech's Terrestrial and Wireless Networks Business Unit. It was long, it was confusing. And so as a company and team, we really wanted to make sure that we came up with something that really reflected our commitment to public safety and the services that we provide. And so we will be transitioning to that Illyrium company name. That is going to encompass our next generation 911 solutions, our Solacom call handling solutions, and then solutions for our wireless and VoIP carriers. So we will be a all encompassed next gen, if you will, business unit. And Illyrium will be the name that you'll be hearing more often going forward. So let's get into just a couple of things here for the purpose of our overview this morning. Many of you have heard this for many years, that's coming. And It's very exciting, I believe, for the Commonwealth of Kentucky that you're moving into the next generation 911. That is a shortened name for the Internet Protocol IP-based system. So what does that really mean? It means that you are moving from a legacy siloed, if you will, 911 service to a much robust service that is going to encompass much better data. That's obviously going to help your 911 PSAP serve your communities, as well as being able to provide better data to your responders so that they are more prepared and equipped to respond to the emergencies that you're sending them to. It's going to allow you to receive and process and analyze 911 calls more accurately through the data that you're receiving from the network, as well as through services like the GPS or GIS and mapping, text, other third-party services that you may have connected that helps with telematic information. This is going to again increase the capabilities of your PSAP and for your dispatchers to better respond to the services that they're being requested to send. From an ESInet perspective, this is moving from basically, again, a system that is antiquated and moving you to from phone lines to a robust function that's going to provide voice, data, and eventually video through a resilient, redundant IP-based network. So the delivery of your calls, data, eventual multimedia, you will have those capabilities across the state so that as you're receiving calls and receiving information, should you need to pull in additional resources from neighboring counties, transfer calls or data, information, you're going to be able to share this network amongst each other to ensure that everybody has the resources and the information they need to respond accurately. And with that, I'm going to turn it over here to Mark and let you go, sir, and I'll flip those slides as you're ready.
Thanks, Mike. All right. So hello, everyone. As Mike mentioned, my name is Mark Greenthaner. I'm the manager of our next-gen implementation and support team here at Comtech or Illyrium. So what we want to do now is just take some time to explain to you the old or legacy 911 compared to the new next-gen 911 that you all are going to be migrating to. So let's break down some of the big differences between the legacy 911 and next-gen 911 and really what's changing for you all on the ground. So starting with legacy 911, this is a system that most of you worked with for years. It was a voice only, using only old school camera trunks, which worked fine when we were dealing with landline calls, but obviously the world's changing a bit. Routing in the legacy setup was what we call tabular call routing. Basically, it's a big static table that says if a call comes in from this number, send it here. So it's not very flexible, and it not always is accurate when it comes to wireless calls. Regarding transfers, so transfers between PSAPs in a legacy world is super limited, as most of you probably know, especially if your neighbors are on a different selective router or a different tandem than your PSAP is. So you could transfer that call to your neighbor PSAP, but it wasn't always done cleanly, and most likely it probably wasn't done with location data attached. And then as far as redundancy, honestly, legacy, not great. If something went down, your options were pretty limited. So if we compare that to the next gen side of the house post-migration, This is where we really start to improve things. So first off, NG911 supports more than just voice. So we're talking about media such as real-time text, instant messaging, video in the future, of course. But the ESINet, the NGCS or Next Gen Core Services will be able to handle that media because it uses modern protocols like RTP and MSRP, which is the media packets that are coming across that IP network or the ESINet that Mike was talking about, which means we can meet people where they are using the ways that they actually communicate. As far as call routing, instead of relying on static tables, NG911 uses location-based call routing. So personally, to me, this is the biggest improvement when it comes to next gen because we're making sure that calls are getting to the right PSAP right away. We're using more than just their phone number or a static table. So if someone is driving and they're coming across the county line, the system can figure that out and get the call to the right PSAP mid-call. One of the best parts also is transfers. So transfers are smarter. You can now, or you will now, be able to transfer a call to any PSAP in Kentucky. So if you're in the southwest corner of Kentucky and you get a 911 call because someone's aunt is in the far northeastern part of the state and they're having chest pain and they refuse to call 911, so of course they called their aunt on the other side of the state. I'm sure you've all have similar scenarios like that. You will be able to post-migration, once all the counties are migrated, that PSAP will be able to transfer to the completely other end of the state on a 911 line with location information with the call. Lastly, the network itself is built to be resilient. It's designed with redundancy and alternate routing options right out of the box. So if one path fails, it can automatically reroute traffic without missing a beat. So overall, Legacy 911 got us where we are. It worked, but NG 911 is what's going to carry us into the future. It's faster, it's smarter, and it's more flexible, and it gives us the tools for you guys to do your jobs even better. Next slide, Michael. So I know a lot of you are probably thinking, well, operationally, what does this mean for me? What's going to change when it comes to your day-to-day? Because it isn't just a tech upgrade. It changes how the system behaves on the ops side too. So the first one, of course, is going to be the call routing. With NG911, we talked about calls are going to be location-based routed, which means where the caller actually is, not based on that preloaded tabular table. So if someone, again, is near that county border, we will be able to route that call to the most appropriate PSAP based on that real-time caller location, which is a huge step forward because I know many of you on the call today have PSAPs that take a 911 call and you have to transfer it to your neighbor because the cell site that they hit is in your jurisdiction. 3/4 of it is probably covered by your jurisdiction without a transfer, but you know anytime anyone within this one little pocket hits that cell site, it's going to come to you and you have to transfer it then to the neighbor. Going forward, that won't happen. We're going to know that that caller is within PSAP B's, what we call PSAP boundary or GIS PSAP boundary, and we're going to get that call to them right from the start. So that change alone is going to decrease transfers. You're going to see fewer calls that have to be handed off to another center just because they were routed to the wrong one in the first place. So that's going to be a win for everyone. Less delay for the caller, less frustration for your staff. Alternate routing. So alternate routing is huge in next gen. It's a big topic. We'll be talking with all of your PSAPs during our post-migration syncs, talking about how the call flow works more in depth and get your policy routing elections, we call them. So operationally speaking, the next gen system is a lot smarter than your legacy system. So we have situations like RNA or ring no answer. ATB, or all trunks busy, and then of course connectivity errors. Each one of those scenarios, the system is going to know how to handle it because you told us where you want those calls to go. So calls can be automatically rerouted without having to have anyone from PSAP leadership, PSAP management to intervene, which means callers are still going to get help even when something is going sideways at the PSAP or sideways within the network. Transfers, we talked about transfers, how they're getting a big upgrade. Eventually you will be able to transfer to all Kentucky PSAPs with location information. The only thing that the PSAPs will have to do is, and once it's done, build in what we call URIs. If you don't know what a URI is, it looks basically like an email address. Build those into your CHE's speed dials. You could build in the whole state, so that way if Louisville wanted to transfer to Bowling Green, they just click the Bowling Green button and we would be able to get it there as a 911 call with location information. And then finally, the network reliability, again, a big one. NG911 is built with better uptime, better redundancy, and stronger security baked in. So the system's not only smarter, it's more stable. Everyone stay focused on the call, and not whether when the storm comes through, is the technology going to stay up, or it's raining real hard. Am I going to start getting a bunch of quote unquote phantom calls because water's in the line? I'm sure a number of you have heard that scenario before. So in short, what's changing operationally? It's less manual work, fewer delays, and more accurate information flowing between PSAPs. It's going to help you do your job faster with fewer obstacles in the way. Next slide, Mike. So we talked about operationally what's going to change. How about what's going to stay the same? And I know when it comes to a system upgrade, a lot of questions that people usually have is, but how different is this going to feel when I'm actually sitting at the console, or my call takers? How is this going to impact them? Well, the good news is your day-to-day experience as a call taker is going to feel pretty familiar. The console layouts, the tools that the call takers use, the way they answer calls, that's pretty much all going to stay the same. Might be a few small updates behind the scenes, like I mentioned about now they could transfer to a PSAP across the state, or there may be a new speed dial button that they have to use versus the one that they're using today. But nothing that's going to make the call taker stop and relearn how to take a call. Core workflows, like how you gather information, how they dispatch it, how you escalate those processes, they'll still follow the same structure. So while the technology around them is evolving, the actual steps in a call are going to feel very consistent with what they're already doing. And most importantly, the telecommunicator's role doesn't change at all. They're still the one coordinating the response, piecing together the critical info, and being that calm voice on the other end when someone is having the worst day of their life. The tech might be smarter, might be more advanced, but it doesn't replace the call taker. They're still the most important part of the system. Next Gen 911, Next Gen 911. When a PSAP migrates, there's probably going to be media regarding it, and little PR never hurt anybody, good PR. So I would fully anticipate that. So what does that mean for public expectations? Pretty much status quo. People are still going to call 911. So in cases where if you're a PSAP that does not have text to 911 today, there's an opportunity that you can let your citizens know that now you have text 911. You can, let people know, dial 911 if you can, text if you can't, which would be the simplest way to let folks know that it's available. And for PSAPs that already have text to 911, again, status quo. The public expectation really doesn't change, other than they expect you to answer the call when they dial. So next gen, it brings a lot of improvements under the hood. The way you do your job, though, the tools, the workflows, the public's expectation, all of that will remain the same. You'll still be doing what you do best, which is going to be getting help to the people who need it. Mike, I see you before we go to the next slide. I see you have your hand up.
I do. Can you take just a moment and explain, further explain on the text to 911 side? So if folks have a over-the-top solution they're paying for, then my understanding is they would have the option to adopt the state-provided text control center and potentially eliminate that cost on their end.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So if your PSAP, good question. If your PSAP is using an over-the-top solution, like Mike mentioned, no one's forcing you into doing anything, but the option is available that you can save the cost by no longer using that over-the-top solution and integrate your text, or what we call MSRP. It's the protocol that the text to 911 uses, and you can embed that directly into your CHE. And those text to 911 messages will come directly through the Comtech or Illyrium TCC, or Text Control Center. Our TCC manages Verizon Wireless and T-Mobile traffic. So what about AT&T? So for AT&T traffic, if you elect to integrate your text to 911 into your CHE through the NGCS, what we do at that point then is, for the AT&T customers, we reach out to the TCC that manages AT&T's traffic, and we would swing that traffic to point to our TCC. So everything would flow then through our TCC to the Kentucky NGCS, and then the text to 911 would arrive at your PSAP. And then again, you would still, just like voice calls you can transfer, those text to 911 calls you would be able to transfer as well. That answer your question, Mike?
It sure did. Thank you for that further explanation.
No problem. All right.
All right.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks, sir. I appreciate it. So next steps here, what are we going to do to prepare? And so as Mark, shared, there's a lot of things in the background that is going to be the improvements, the work that we're going to be doing, working with you, working with our partners that's providing the service, to ensure that there's, little change to the actual dispatcher that is boots on the ground doing the work. But starting this progress, we definitely are going to need the engagement of each of the PSAPs as we move, through our migration schedule. After today, you will be receiving some direct communication from our pre-deployment team. Mr. Tim Schaefer, myself, Mark, we're all part of that team. So you'll be receiving some either direct emails or direct phone calls to set up what we call a pre-migration meeting or pre-migration sync. The first couple meetings of those, we will dive in more direct to your specific PSAP, your operational setup today, your operational expectations after you go live on our system. We'll talk more about, the capabilities that we're going to need to work through, and some of those decisions that we'll need your, feedback on. So it's important to have participation from each of the PSAPs, whether that is, at the director, leadership level, or if you have somebody, on your staff that is going to be a point of contact that can share information back, with the PSAP leadership team, that's certainly acceptable as well. We want you to start asking questions early, and don't wait. We may uncover something that is unique to the way that you do things, the way that your municipality or county, is set up, a service that you might be using today that's integrated, into your 911. We'll cover all of that, those options and situations during our pre-migration calls. But if something comes up, we definitely want you to ask those questions. That way we can engage, appropriate resources if needed ahead of time. Speaking of engagement, so we are going to be engaging all of the call handling, or as Mark was, mentioning, like CHE, call handling equipment. This is your, systems that are actually, taking the 911 calls. We are going to be engaging all of those vendors across the state that the state has provided us, just to let them know that, hey, we're going to be starting this project. You're going to be hearing from your PSAPs. Be aware that this engagement, is going to be coming along. But one of the other pieces that we're going to be looking for help from each of you all is your direct engagement with them, your recorder provider, anyone else that may provide a service direct into your, call receiving, call processing, situations. Then we're going to need your help to let those vendors know, hey, we are starting this process. Is there anything that I need to do? And then have a contact that, we'll be able to engage as we get closer to the migration date. We'll also ask that you start just thinking about reviewing your operating procedures. And this goes back to where Mark was saying the robust capabilities of being able to transfer and select alternates for routing. So for each one of you, when we have our pre-migration meeting and syncs, we're going to give you a list of scenarios that could occur, that we can build in those options in the background ahead of time, so that when you go live and you're on the system, those options are automatic. Mark mentioned, about a ring no answer. So that could be a situation where your PSAP is just completely overwhelmed, and the call is ringing and it's ringing and it's ringing. But there's simply nobody available there at your PSAP that can answer that call. The system can be set up, or will be set up smart enough that if it rings so long after a certain period of seconds, that call will automatically then transfer to a neighboring PSAP of your choice. That you won't need to call into Comtech or Illyrium to say, we're overwhelmed, I need you to transfer calls, we're not answering them. That will be something that can automatically be set up ahead of time to be able to happen. If you something, goodness forbid, happens at your center where you have to evacuate, those types of things can be set up ahead of time in the background, where you can then make that simple call to the to our NOC and say, we have to evacuate, transfer our calls, and within seconds that can be done. So we want you to start thinking about, some of those things. You're not just siloed to yourself anymore, or somebody that's on your current selective router. You have options now to consider how you want the operations of your 911 center to operate seamlessly. Just as I said, we are going to be setting up those pre-migration meetings with you all. We will certainly work with you. We're going to do this much, in advance as appropriate. So I don't want you to think that you're going to receive a call from me, next month and say, hey, we're going to switch you over to this network, next week. We will definitely give a plenty of planning time so that we can work through that process. We'll be able to keep you up to date on vendors that's going to be coming into the PSAPs, obviously, to install circuits that will be needed. We always want to make sure that we, are communicating that type of activity with you, and it's pre-planned. You're aware of everything that's happening throughout the process. So you're going to have a great lead time into the migration process, and have access to us, at all times to work through that, and ensure that we're all on the same page and book. So just some takeaways here. I'm sure that you've already, read through those. I just want to, again, remind you that, this project is not taking away what, you are doing today. It's simply enhancing. It's not replacing people. It's empowering your dispatchers with much better data and capabilities to do their jobs. To really lessen the question, like, oh, where should I send this, or what should I do here, type scenarios. You're going to be able to build a system that is going to work for your county and how you want your 911 operations, to work. And then again, as we continue to grow in the next gen 911 world, when we start receiving, pictures and video and different telematics from services, you're going to be able to build that capability to take a call from anybody that has any type of mobile device that's able to contact you and do that effectively. We will be providing you, again, from today going forward, what we call the pre-migration and post-migration support. So you will have a list of contacts that will be a part of this pre-migration. As I mentioned, Tim Schaefer is going to be a lead deployment specialist that you're going to be hearing from, that will be leading a lot of those calls that we'll have, walking through, the process as we go forward. He and I will share that responsibility. We'll also have some other folks that will be a part of like the GIS planning, ensuring that your GIS, your data, MSAGs, all of that kind of information is provided so that we can ensure that it is to the standard of the next gen 911 world and will be ready and loaded and tested for your migration. And then post-migration, again, I'm not going away. So you will have a 24/7, 365 NOC that'll be monitoring the system from our core levels down to your PSAP levels that you can contact in emergencies. But then you'll also have the post-migration support from myself, Mark, and Greg that will be able to support you with any upgrades that you might, decide to do later down the road. If you build a new PSAP, et cetera, we're going to be with you throughout the whole process. So I'll open up now. If you have any initial questions that we can address, feel free to shoot those over to Mark and I. Happy to answer those.
Don't be shy, folks.
That is right. And again, I do, as I mentioned earlier, when we start our individual meetings, with you, we will really take a look at each individual operation, that you have at your PSAP and ensure that, that we address any of those specific concerns that you have there. But if you have any questions about the system now or who we are or what we're doing, feel free to ask.
I have one for you because this has come up in some other conversations with folks. You take just a couple minutes and talk about when it comes to location-based routing through the core services, how is that different from what wireless providers have been rolling out on their own, which they also title location-based routing?
Yeah, Mark, if you heard that, I know that there was a.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, that's actually a really good question. So the wireless providers, what they're rolling out is whenever someone dials 911 from a device on their network, right? They're getting device location information, and then they plot that against a PSAP boundary that who knows when it was last updated, to be honest with you, right? Depending on, I mean, you yourself, if you're sitting in a PSAP, think back to when was the last time you let a wireless carrier know what your PSAP jurisdiction boundaries were or shared any kind of GIS data with them. Many of you probably don't even know how to contact the wireless carrier to even get that information to them, because that's just how the legacy world was set up. So what that does, what they're doing is they're taking that location and plotting it against this PSAP boundary that was implemented who knows how long ago and under whose authority. Maybe it was 3 directors before you. And then that's how they determine a PNE or ESRK to use to get it to the PSAP. So what's happening in the next gen world is you, the PSAPs, are submitting your GIS data and you're, creating polygons for your PSAP. And maybe, you always, you get calls today for the eastern part of your jurisdiction that you always transfer. And now with next gen, you'll easily be able to, with the assistance of your GIS team, go in and carve out that little section of your PSAP boundary and say, this needs to go to my neighbor. Because every time we get a call from here, our EMS station closed, mutual aid comes from this county now, it just makes sense for them to get the call. So the county GIS updates their GIS, adds that to the what we call the ECRF, or the emergency call routing function. And when the call comes to us from the carrier, we then do a location query, because maybe by the time the call comes to us, the location may even be updated from when the carrier first got the call. And then we plot that in this ECRF, or emergency call routing function. And we then determine that, okay, this is in PSAP B's jurisdiction, and we route it then to PSAP B rather than A. Because a lot of times what we'll see is the wireless carrier will send us a call, and in the legacy world, it should have been PSAP A based on the PNE that we're getting from the wireless carrier. But when we actually plot the call, it's actually in PSAP B's territory. So that's another thing that I want to point out is if your PSAP migrates, there's a potential that even though your neighbors may not be migrated onto the NGCS yet, they potentially are also going to still reap some of the benefits of more accurate routing. Because what will happen is if your PSAP typically would get a 911 call today that you have to transfer, once you migrate, that call is going to come into us. We're going to see that it was originally destined for you. We're going to plot it and see that it's actually within your neighbor's boundary. Even though your neighbor is not on net yet, we call it on net, even though they're not migrated yet, if it plots within their area, we will in turn then route the call back through the selective router to that off-net PSAP. So once you migrate, those calls that you're getting today that you regularly have to transfer, again, even though that PSAP hasn't migrated yet, because they originally were destined for you, the on-net PSAP, we will then be able to accurately route it to your neighbor. So the wireless carriers, they are improving and using location-based routing on their end to get it to the quote-unquote more accurate PSAP, but we can nail it down or drill it down even further without having to have a PSAP update wireless carrier A, B, and C's database. You can make those changes and dictate where the calls go with your own GIS data.
Right. So the state's GIS data that feeds into the core is the authoritative data source and will override any inaccurate information from the carrier's location-based routing.
Yep.
That's
Exactly. The GIS data that you're adding to the ECRF is going to be what is actually being used for the final routing decision to the PSAP.
You got a hand raised and a question in the chat.
Chat.
Paul, if you want to go ahead. Yeah, I should say we've got Bo here.
Okay.
I'll take that one and then let you get Paul. Bo, yeah, you are correct. You're not going to have to call AT&T anymore. So if you're going to have 2 redundant circuits, So I'm just going to throw out, you mentioned AT&T. One of those circuits last mile provider may be AT&T. The other circuit last mile provider may be, we'll say Verizon. If the AT&T circuit last mile happens to go down, our 911 or our NOC center will get that notification. We will make that notification to you that it is down, but the system itself is going to use that second circuit in redundancy to continue delivering your calls, even if that AT&T service was disrupted. If by chance there was something catastrophic that was taking out the AT&T circuit and the Verizon circuit, and calls could not be delivered, when it's coming through our system, it's hitting your county and it's saying, nope, I can't get this call here, then that's the protocols that we're going to have set up in the background, that it's going to reroute that to another 911 center that you have chosen. So from a caller perspective, they're going to still get their 911 call answered. And then from a PSAP perspective, we're going to be doing that work with notifications and monitoring in the background. So you're not going to have to do that anymore. Yes, sir. Mr. Paul, you had your hand up first. Go ahead, sir.
So what's the percentage of PSAPs that have to be online before the call routing is implemented?
So when you say before the call routing is implemented, meaning, Paul, let's say that your PSAP goes online first. Are you talking about the neighboring PSAP, or just location routing in general for your PSAP once you come online?
Just location routing in general for the state. Is there a percentage? Like, can we flip the switch on, or can that be turned on, county by polygon, or division by division, or like East Division, West Division of the state, or what percentage of PSAP have to be on before that LCR can be implemented or turned on, if you will?
So we do that on a PSAP by PSAP basis. So as soon as, once we migrate you, what we do, so let's say you're on an AT&T selective router, which I think you are. If you're on an AT&T selective router and you're the first one to migrate, come migration day, we'll have AT&T on the bridge, and then they'll, quote unquote, swing their traffic. And instead of pointing it to the camera trunks that go to Owensboro today, we would then have AT&T point it to us, our NGCS, and the calls would be then coming through our two data centers. And then once those data centers get the call, that's then when the location-based routing kicks in. So once your traffic gets swung, then the location routing kicks in for your PSAP.
What about surrounding counties? If they're not online, it'll still route.
So surrounding counties.
If the call comes the call's routed to my, I'm on the net and it shows in Henderson or McLean, it will then automatically route to them and not to me because I'm online. Correct.
Correct. Assuming that your neighbor's PSAP boundaries, right? Assuming their GIS is added, there's no critical errors, and we have their GIS information in. Now, if your neighbor's GIS information wasn't loaded yet, the ECRF would return what's called a not found, and then we would use a fallback routing method to end up getting the call to you. But from what I understand, Kentucky's GIS data is very good and well ahead of the game. So I don't anticipate that latter scenario. So as long as your neighbor's GIS data is in, call traffic comes in for you, but we plot it in a neighbor, we're going to then send the call back to the selective router to get to your neighbor.
I know people in the community and are probably tired of me talking about GIS because I homed in on this and I knew the importance of this call. We should be 100%, if not 98 point whatever in the whole state to turn this on like immediately once PSAPs are on the net to save lives and make a difference. So.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, I'm almost positive you guys are well ahead of the game as far as GIS goes. So I fully anticipate, you know, once a PSAP goes live, I can't see a neighbor's GIS data not being loaded.
My last question is, so many of our PSAPs are on the border of the river in Tennessee and Ohio and Indiana, Missouri lines. So if you see that call hitting in those jurisdictions, what's the call routing function for that? Because I have a lot of calls coming from Indiana.
Right. So today, once you migrate, if a call comes in and it plots across the river in the state of Indiana, the ECRF would return a not found because it's outside of Kentucky. It would return a not found, and we would then use that fallback routing and route it on ESRK, RDN. You know, there's a number of different methods that we look at, and then we would in turn get the call to your PSAP like you're taking them today.
So at what point can I partner with Indiana? Because Indiana's NG 911 through the whole state, and just have those calls routed over to them and not to me.
That would be probably a larger business discussion between the state and Comtech that we would have to have communications with the state and have a business discussion to see how they want to handle those kind of transfers.
I think we need someone on the state downwind board look into that, because it's not going to affect just me. It's going to affect multiple counties and Tennessee and Indiana, especially the counties that are bordering Tennessee straight across. I'm sure they are affected the same way, and that's something that we really should look into as soon as we can. Actually, that's my thoughts on it.
Oh, understood. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Paul. Melinda, I see your hand. Melinda, your hand went down. I don't know if you took it down or your mute didn't come off. Right. Any other questions that we can help with today? At the end of the slide here, I have listed again Mark and I's contact information. So you have that. Again, next steps from our side is that you'll be hearing from myself and or Tim Schaefer to start planning for those pre-migration meetings, providing you some additional information. But at this point, you know, moving forward, whether, you know, you're on track and you hear from us that you're going to be coming up later this year, or you're, you know, next year, if you have questions or anything that comes up between now and when we start those, please feel free to reach out to us at any time, and we'll definitely help to get those questions answered for you. Mr. Goss, I will turn it back over to you, sir.
All right. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for your questions and for joining us. We have another training coming up at the end of the month on how to do your PSAP survey. So be looking for that email coming out. I hope everybody has a very good afternoon. And thank you so much, Comtech Alarium.
Appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.